Welcome to the Millennium Counseling Center podcast, where hope is yours, it's time to soar. I'm your host, Orrin Madison. It's time to rise above and celebrate healing, hope, and recovery with the Millennium Counseling Center team.
Special thanks to Kaz Source, who helps us with the production of our podcast. If anybody needs any help or looking into podcasts, please reach out to Kaz Source at kazcontent.com.
Hey, this is Derek Bylsma with Millennium Counseling Center. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's all level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. It's Scott Ferguson. We're episode 294 with kind of a homeboy of mine, Derek Bylsma. Played very, very high-level soccer. He found his calling in being a therapist with the little urging of his lovely bride, his wife, and he changes lives. He's a man that believes if you're passionate about something, that you chase that passion strategically and with a bunch of persistence until you get what you want. So his outlook on life is fantastic. He's going to level you up. So make sure you break out your notebooks for this one because he does drop some solid knowledge nuggets. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, Derek Bylsma from the Millennium Counseling Centers. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got me some kind of home cooking today. So a gentleman that we kind of grew up together. We're only 3 years apart in age, but he grew up about maybe 15 minutes from me in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I grew up in Plymouth, Michigan, and we know some of the same people, and it's just crazy how this COVID world and everything else kind of shrinks it down, and I'm blessed to be able to bring people on like my good friend Derek Bylsma from Millennium Counseling Centers. So they are located in Chicago, Illinois, but they are all about leveling up people's lives. Derek is a former high-level athlete and business owner who has dedicated all his attention to helping people get mentally well. He's a therapist and a group practice owner specializing in substance abuse, trauma, and mental health. He also oversees both their athlete wellness program and intensive recovery program. His goal is to be an advocate for mental health, support all, and provide a platform for everyone to get the support they need. And I love that because like therapy, people know that I'm not a therapist. I love getting people from therapists through my breakout program here at Time to Shine Today, but Derek takes care of what's buried and brings it to the surface and helps them heal and level up and move forward. And Derek, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
I would say probably blue. It just seems like a positive color to me, I guess.
There you go.
I don't know why.
Big Epsom salt thing over here in Florida called the ocean. It's my favorite color too.
Yeah.
So seriously, man, thanks for coming on, brother. It's such a small world and dropping names that we both know. It's just fantastic, man. And so can you give us a little bit about, because you were a high-level athlete, can we kind of start with your story there and moving forward and how you're helping people that maybe that are stuck and help them level up?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I played sports growing up, and ultimately soccer became my best sport and went to go on and play in college. I started at a small liberal arts college, and then I transferred to University of Wisconsin in Madison because I wanted to play Division I. I thought my ultimate dream was to play professionally, which was much different back then because I'm, 52. So professional soccer was different than it is now. But ended up being able to do that. I got drafted, and then I played for 3 years. I played a couple years in Milwaukee, and then I played a year in Portland, Oregon, and then figured out that that's probably not how I was going to make my career. So I turned into a little bit more of a business guy, entrepreneur, sales guy, was in the staffing and recruiting industry, ultimately was with a big staffing company, Robert Half International. And I broke off from there and started my own company, which was my kind of first step into trying to be an entrepreneur. And ultimately I failed a couple times at that. And then in the long run succeeded. During that time, I was spending a lot of time working with people who were struggling different things, mental health, addiction, and all that type of stuff. And my wife came to me one day and said, "Hey, listen, Derek, you're not." I had started another company, and this company was actually doing well. And my wife said, "Look, you come home every night and you talk to all these people who are struggling with things, and you're reaching out to people and talking to friends." She's like, "You need to go do that. That's what you really care about." And so, which I was scared to do. I didn't want to do it because my business was going well. I was finally having some success on the business side. And but My wife's a smart woman, and I guess I was a smart guy for listening to her. So I went and did that. So I went back and got my master's in my mid-30s, a total career change. You know, I went from a business owner, to a successful business owner to being back in grad school. So I'm the oldest guy in grad school. Ultimately graduate from there, but I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to work with people individually, and specifically people with co-occurring disorders or dual diagnosis, meaning that a combination of substance abuse and mental health, or a combination of any of those two things. But that was the area that I was really interested in, was the substance abuse and mental health combo. So, you know, somebody who's an alcoholic, who's got, clinical depression or something along those lines was what I was interested in. I got an internship with Millennium Counseling when I first started. So I was an intern with the place I am now. Kind of worked my way up there. It's a medium-sized, 15 people. Kind of worked my way up. About 5 years ago, I took over as executive director, and then 3 years ago, myself and another guy bought out the founder, a woman named Ann Foster, who's amazing, and we worked out a really good deal with her. So we were able to take over the business. She was able to retire. And then now I'm just, I spend time running our group practice, but most of what I do is working as a therapist. That's most of the work that I do. I'm very tightly scheduled with a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. So we spend a little less time running the business and more time, kind of working with people individually. But the truth is, that's what I love. So I love it the way we have it set up.
I love it. What was the trigger then that said, because you were real quickly, what kind of business did you have that you shut down?
Recruiting and staffing, headhunting.
Okay, that's right. You said that. Okay. So what was the trigger then that said, you know what, I understand your wife kind of gave you the push forward, but what was the trigger that you were coming home, helping people, talking to people that needed it? What really triggered that part of your caring?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you the vague answer or the real answer, but the vague answer is I was going through some of my own stuff. The real answer is I got sober, and so I got sober 18 years ago, and had been a guy who could kind of do whatever I wanted to do. I was able to control everything, and then when it came to this one area of my life, I wasn't able to do it. So I went and got sober, and after getting sober, I was working with other people who were in recovery, and so I felt like I saw what a difference it made in my own life and how much better life got for me. And I felt like I could help other people do that and see that. And so that was kind of my dream. I felt like I had this little secret that I needed to share.
That is awesome, Terry. That comes straight from the heart. So it's genuine, and you wake up every day with that passion and persistence that wants to move forward and help out people out. So do you do a lot of, I heard you say you talk group, but do you do one-on-one counseling as well?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, most of what we do is one-on-one. We do have some groups, but most of what I do is one-on-one. And we've got this intensive program, which we'll talk about at some point. But I think that was kind of the thing that excited me, was just an opportunity to kind of treat people as individuals. I think one of the things is that we all react to different things. Things are important. Something that's important to me or would be meaningful to me may not be to you. And I think the key to really trying to help people is getting to know them well enough to figure out what that is, as opposed to just giving them a bunch of psychoeducation and hope that sticks.
Love it. I love it. So that means you're listening, which is fantastic. So when someone comes to you, maybe you're in a discovery period to make sure Millennium is a good fit for them. Is there what part of maybe your secret sauce is there to maybe help them initially start to find their blind spots?
Here's the hardest thing I think we have to do is we have to, if somebody comes to me and they're trying to make changes in their life, the single hardest thing they need to do is trust that what I'm telling them is the truth. And so if they can trust that for the short run, then I know they'll see that in the long run. And what I mean by trust is just having faith that life will get better, that things will get better if you change the way you're living it. If something's not working, then we need to change that. And I think that I will kind of lay out to them what I believe things will look like if they continue to, kind of work at those things. But in the beginning, they're just, you're somebody they just met. And so they have to trust you and believe you. And so I think that the most important part is being able to connect with people initially and just have that kind of initial connection so that that they're even open to having faith in what you're saying or believe in, what you're saying. Because like the secret that I know is if they do that, their life will get better. 100% of the time, their life is going to get better. Not because of some secret I have, but just because we know that if you work at something, it's going to help change things. And so I just need to keep them engaged long enough till they can see it themselves, and they start to see kind of the thing I refer to as a kind of personal historical data. So so that basically they start building their own data on their own lives instead of me talking about what has happened with other people or what theoretically could happen or what the ideas would be.
I love it. And that's a very fun way of saying facts without getting into numbers and boring the shit out of people. That's fantastic, Derek. So when you're maybe in this discovery period, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Let's see. There's, I guess, a lot of good questions, but if I were sitting in the other seat, I would say, well, how are you going to help me? What's that going to look like? That would be my question. A lot of people have different ideas about that, but if I was going to go and spend the time and effort to try to change my life, I would, really want to know, what are we going to do and how are we going to get there?
Love it. And so if I'm out networking, or anybody else that's here that's out networking, presence and flash, meeting some people, what kind of things am I listening for from people that might make them a good referral contact or connection for Millennium?
We've got a kind of a wide range of therapists who all specialize in different things. So we kind of cover the group. One thing that's a little bit different about us is that in the substance abuse world, we also do mental health. We're not strictly substance abuse. So we work with mood disorders and kind of anxiety, depression, all those types of things. And so I just think that if somebody feels like they want to make a change in their life and they don't really understand why, basically if life isn't going well and you're not exactly sure why that is, and you want to explore that. I just think that one of the greatest things about human beings is that we can change. We wake up every day and we have the opportunity to be who we want to be. And so I think a lot of times we get stuck in this idea that, kind of this idea that people never change, or I am who I am, or, things like that, which I think is brutal because, if I would have stayed who I was, I'd be dead.
Right. And me too, to be honest with you. I had my demons as well. So how about with people that are already doing well, but maybe need that little push, or they have that problem, maybe substance abuse or mental therapy? Are they also a good referral for you as well, where they maybe they're doing well,
Sure.
They're high level?
There's lots of people who do really well that we see. There are people who, from the outside are highly functioning and, have healthy relationships and great jobs. But usually it's about, that's about their ability to be able to kind of, I guess, situate everything in their own minds. Everything. And that's one of the things that people get frustrated about, that they everything looks great on paper, but then why do I still, on a scale of 1 to 10, why does life feel like a 6 to me?
Yes. Thank you for saying that, man. Because there's people that have did it or doing it. And like you said, on the surface, on the paper, that's thank you for saying that. So Derek, what do you believe your strengths are?
As I mentioned before, I think I connect with people. I also think that personally, I've been through a lot of stuff. And so I can relate, even if it's not the exact same story, but I can relate to what they've gone through. I've had some really tough parts of my life and realize that we can come out the other side. I think the other thing is that I am, at least this is something I try to be, and I believe I am, is I'm very non-judgmental. When somebody tells me something about what's ever going on in their life, and part of that, if I'm being honest, is because I don't feel like I have any room to judge from the way that I lived, right? Yeah. So who am I to judge somebody else? And I think people hear that. I think the other thing is that I'm really, really passionate and compassionate about the people I'm working with, and I will jump over the highest structures I can find to help people, and I think I think people understand that when they get to know me a little bit, they realize that I will work and this is what I always say to people: listen, I'll work as hard as you do. I'm not going to work any harder, but whatever level you can go to, then I will equal that and I will match that. And for those who are willing to put in the work, the outcomes are, almost always great.
Beautiful, man. That's exactly what I kind of wanted to hear. So Derek, have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Derek Bylsma. What kind of knowledge nuggets, we call them here at Time Shine Today, what kind of knowledge nuggets would you be dropping on the 22-year-old Derek to maybe help him, not so much change anything, but to level up, last through, maybe shorten that learning curve a little bit?
I think I understood the value of working hard and kind of pushing through things. I think that sometimes that kind of moved into the area of kind of a feeling of invincibility, and that things would always work out. Things did work out a lot for me when I was younger. I would make decisions and it would seem like it was, a brilliant decision. And I think, half the time it was just luck that I got on the right path. But I do think that there was I would probably make sure that I worked on humility and helped 22-year-old Derek understand what humility is, but also the fact that we are, none of us are invincible. There's things that can take all of us down, and we just need to make sure. It doesn't mean you need to run around scared of them or worried all the time. It just means we need to be aware of them and realize that, my dad told me something when I was a kid that I think is great and has been helpful for me my whole life. Is he said, Derek, however great you are at anything, remember there's always somebody better. And he said, however bad you are, remember there's always somebody worse. And he said, I just don't ever want you to think you're number one in the world, but I also don't ever want you to think you're last in the world. We're all in the middle somewhere. Just depends where.
I love that. I actually coach that as well. Like the plus equal minus formula, where every day I try to find someone that's better than me at something and learn from them. And then I find an equal, and then we share with each other. And then someone that is on their way up, I share with them. And that to me, that makes a perfect day for me, for that. That's fantastic. So how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date, your expiration date. Hopefully it's a long ways down the road, but your life date and death date. How do you want Derek's dash remembered?
Probably a loving person to the people around me, my wife and my daughter and my, parents and sister, and somebody who dedicated their life to trying to help other people figure out the things that we can understand so that life is just that much better.
Love that. Love it. And so what do you think people misunderstand the most about Derek?
Maybe that I struggle less than I do. I think that, and to be fair, life is, I would say that overall life is very good for me. But I think that sometimes people think things come easily, and I don't think that's the case. I think that things are hard for me, just like they are for anybody else. And we kind of have to work through these things. I think sometimes people believe that, kind of the way that I was when I was 22 is that things just seem to work out for me. And that's not always the case. Right.
You got to kind of feel like when you're younger, and I was the same way, being in the military and then coming back after what I seen and did. And it's like, I thought I had the King Midas touch and stuff. Everyone, a lot, everything I touched turned to gold. And then you get that one wake up call, right? So
that's right.
What, if anything, keeps Derek up at night?
I don't sleep much, so I wouldn't say much keeps me up at night. I just am up at night.
Okay.
But as far as things I worry about would be about people. It's not about things or money or things like that. It's just about people and trying to make sure that the people that I care about are doing okay. But I don't find a lot of value in worrying. I'm not sure that I will happily take action if there's something I'm worried about, but I challenge myself constantly that worry to me is just something that helps me believe I'm doing something when I'm really not. And so I will challenge myself to
that is
all right,
strong.
So yeah.
Wow. I'm writing that down. Worry has you believe something. Say that again. What did you say about worry?
Well, it just has you believe that you're taking action because you're not just doing nothing, you're worrying about it. So it must be important to you. And I challenge myself to say, no, you don't get to worry. You either take action or you accept it. But just sitting around and worrying about it is not helping me get anywhere. Yeah,
it's true. That's a mind bomb knowledge nugget right there, because worrying is actually an action. That's fantastic. Thank you for dropping that on the squad, brother. So let's take out of the equation any family, electronic devices, we're not going to say iPhone, iPad, whatever. What are three things that Derek can't live without?
Competition.
Love it.
Passion and energy.
That's beautiful. Love it. And they all have to come together. That's beautiful. So what is your definition of a life well lived?
I think that, so it's funny because this is something I talk with people a lot, but I think that it's our understanding of what life is versus what factually is what life is. And what I mean by that is, and there's a much longer version of the story, but I'll tell it quick, is I made friends with this homeless guy years ago, and he was very, very positive guy. I also had a friend of mine who on paper was super successful. Everything was great for him. And so, but the difference in talking to the two guys was amazing. The homeless guy was always up and happy, and the other guy was always complaining about what wasn't going right. And so I asked the homeless guy, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is life? And he thought about it for a minute and he said 8. And then I asked the guy who looked great on paper, who had, he was very wealthy. I knew his wife. She was awesome. He had 2 great kids. And I asked him, what is life? And he said 7. And so the question I always ask people is who would you rather be? And my answer to that, so to get to your question, my answer is that I'd rather be the guy that thinks life is an 8 when it's really a 3 than the guy who thinks life is a 7 when it's really a 9. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The facts for what is life versus the fact. That's I've never even thought about that. That's another knowledge bomb, dude. Wow. Hey, Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back. And Derek, you and I could we might one day talk 30, 40 minutes on each one of these questions, but you got 5 seconds with no explanation. So you're going to put that high-level athlete hat on right now. You're going to answer these quickly for me. All right, brother?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. What is the best leveling up advice that Derek's ever received?
Find your passion and be great at it. You can make a career of it.
Share one of your personal habits that contributes to success.
Energy.
Love it. So you see me walking down the street and you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums. What book might you hand me?
Drive by Daniel Pink.
Yeah, my man. Love it. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
I don't use emojis.
Beautiful.
It would be a smiley face.
Gotcha. And don't lie to me on this one, Bylsma, but if you could be one age physically for the rest of your life, keep the knowledge you've garnered and continue to gain wisdom, what age physically would you stay for the rest of your life?
25.
20. Thank you for putting a 2 or a 3 on the front. Beautiful. Believe it. Beautiful. Nicknames growing up.
Tricky D.
Really? Love that. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Chess.
Beautiful. What's your go-to flavor for ice cream?
Some sort of caramel.
Beautiful. There's a sandwich called the Bylsma. What's on that sandwich?
Turkey, a bunch of vegetables, and probably some sort of ranch flavored dressing.
I'm a ranch fiend too, dude. So you got a time machine. You got access to a time machine for one day. Would you go 20 years in the future or 20 or 30 years in the past just to hang out for one day?
Past.
Me too, actually. I love it. Love it.
I get to go to the
change
future
a thing.
either way.
I would just hang.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're already going to the future. I take my chance of going to the past.
That's right. Favorite charity and organization like to give your time or money to?
Urban Initiatives in Chicago.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You can elaborate a little bit on this one. Last question. What's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
90s.
Thank you.
I was a guy who grew up around a lot of different types of music, and especially, in Michigan, a lot of hip hop and old school rap and stuff like that. So that's kind of the area I still connect to.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now you mentioned briefly about a program that you guys have there. I'd like to really kind of talk about that and what's going on at Millennium and what you're offering.
Sure. Yeah, we and I think that this was also probably the thing that I've been most passionate about is when I had gone through my own journey of recovery and treatment and all that kind of stuff, then I saw that there's a lot of people that we would hear people who had gone through different programs and things like that, and they would have one kind of common complaint, and they would say, I don't get enough individual attention, right? It's everything. I feel like I'm just a number and I'm in a group. And so we started an intensive recovery program, which is similar to an intensive outpatient program where it's based around almost all individual one-on-one counseling at an intensive level. So 10 hours a week of straight sessions. And then we also have daily check-ins. We're in touch with people 2 to 3 times a day. Mostly we use that for most treatment centers will use this as a step-down program for their folks. So they'll be in a residential treatment center, they'll come back to Chicago, and then they know they're going to spend, we'll be talking to them for 10 or 15 hours a week as they're trying to get reacclimated to their life. So I think that that's something that people hadn't really done. They hadn't put such an emphasis on the individual work. The outcomes have been amazing. The treatment centers love it. And I would say that the people who have gone through our program just love it because they feel like it's different. And particularly for those who have been through other programs and felt like they didn't get what they want. I think the combination of the individual attention, the accountability, and our helping them to kind of get to a place of acceptance really helps people a lot if they're willing to do the work. And that's what I always tell people when they're talking to me about our program. I say, listen, if you really want to get better, then you will absolutely love us. You will not find anybody who will work harder or will try more to help you. But if you just want to check a box to tell somebody that you went to treatment afterwards, we're the wrong place because it's too much attention. We're too close to you. You'll hate it. You'll feel smothered if you don't want to do the work.
I love that you said that. So are you guys smothered? If you're not down, like you can lead a horse to water, can't make it drink all the time. I love it. So are you guys nationwide or mainly in Chicago?
We're in Chicago, and so the way that licensing works with therapists is you have to be in state. However, we're in the process of looking in some other states. A lot of the people that we work with, the treatment centers, have requested that we are available in their area. And so I think we'll be, particularly for this program I talked about, we should be, in the next year, I would say we'll have several other areas that will be open to it. And now with teletherapy, the city is still important, but the state is, you can work with people all over the state if you use teletherapy.
Sure.
So
I love that. So do me a favor and leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action.
I would just say the importance of perspective and gratitude. I think that we get too caught up in what is and don't spend enough time figuring out what our perception of those things are. And you can take the same situation and you can look at it in different ways. And I'm not talking about false positivity. I'm talking about being able to really step back and look at something from a different angle and be able to kind of see how it works. And then also, the way I define gratitude is the percentage of time that I'm feeling grateful for the things I have in my life and the percentage of time I'm thinking about the things I want to change. We need both. We need to want to change things in our life and we need to be grateful for the things we have. But for me, if I'm spending 70% of the time being grateful and 30% of the time thinking about what I need to change and what could be better, then that's the right balance for me. We all have a different balance, but that works.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, brother, because, my clients, they eat a gratitude sandwich every day. It's required of them. And what it is they set the first line, they set their intention for the day. Okay. Second line is what you're worried about, man. What do you want to change? What bank account low, business low, leads low, whatever they're talking about. And then they have to list 13 things underneath it that they're grateful for. I don't care if it's gravity, it's stuff that they're grateful for. And the 14th is a love letter to yourself. The 14th thing is like, Scott, you're doing great today. You're smiling, you're making people smile. And I tell myself every day, and my clients have to, it's required of them to tell themselves I love you. It's part of it. So the reason why it's a sandwich is the top is the intention, the bottom is the gratitude and the love letter, and that middle gets squeezed out. And they eat a gratitude sandwich every day. And you just said it in basically the exact same way. And squad, we literally got a fantastic masterclass, and I have notes upon notes from my good friend here and kind of a homeboy, Derek Bylsma. He says treat people as individuals. People attach different meanings to things, and a great therapist will treat them as individuals and not just put them into a cookie cutter, program. He wants you to trust your therapist in the short run, because in the long run, you're going to see results. So inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. So trust your therapist to take you through. If you're starting to work with therapists, don't be afraid to bluntly ask them, how are you going to help me? What is that plan? And if you are passionate, Derek is known as someone that's passionate and compassionate. So he sees through empathetic eyes as well as taking action to level up. a therapist, you want them to work as hard as you do. So remember, you as the patient that is being leveled up has got to put in the work and be able to put in the reps and have the grit, that monotonous activity that I always talk about. The grit is you've got to stay the course that your therapist puts you on. He's a loving person, loves his family, his wife, his daughter. He's someone that's going to slide into home plate bumped and bruised, but knowing that he's left the world a better place. Derek is actively planting trees that he probably will never sit in the shade in. And I love strategically aligning with people like that. If you're persistent and you have a passion, go do it. Be great at it. Okay. And then just remember, like Derek ended with, the importance of perspective and gratitude. You have to see things as they are and have that balance of, hey, there's shit to worry about. We can worry about that, but have gratitude. It like Derek said, a 70-30% split is actually pretty damn good. And I love that he kind of put it out there that it's okay to have things wrong, but make sure you're grateful for what you have right. And Derek, not that you need another one, but you earned your varsity letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much for coming on. You level up your health, you level up your wealth. You're humble, yet you're hungry. You're perfect for our squad here. So thank you so much, brother. I love your guts.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, and keep doing the great stuff you're doing.
Thanks, Derek. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Sounds good.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.
Thank you for listening to the Millennium Counseling Center podcast. Where hope is yours, it's time to soar. Continue along your journey of healing, hope, and recovery with us next week. If you want to learn more about mental health, recovery, or if you just need someone to talk to, send us a message on Instagram or fill out the contact form on our website at millenniumhope.com. We are here to talk.